That's what you're trained to believe as a sports person.
There was 4 million people in Ireland who knew much more about managing football teams than I did. When it comes to music, I can spoof with the best.
Your sporting career is the best time you'll have, and you have to hang on to it for as long as you like, because everything else is pretty crappy.
And this is not lies. Stephen Rothschild has never spoken to Jimmy McGuinness in his life.
That is the voice of David Brady on the end of our Saturday panellists thing. He's one of our 3 panellists this afternoon. He's with Brian Kavanagh and Ciaran McKeever. A very warm welcome as well to our YouTube viewers and anybody who's watching us on Facebook or Periscope. You can comment on the stream below if you want to get in touch or have any questions for the lads. You can tweet us as well at Off The Ball or text us using the number 53106. David, Brian and Ciaran, you're very welcome. How are things?
Oh, good. Good to be here, Ron. Good to be here.
We were just chatting during the ad break there about your New York memories. David, your New York memories more recent than the lads. I think you were over there a couple of weeks ago. Still shook, I think.
Still shook. I'm shook. My bank account is shook. Yeah, look, it was, I have to say, I'll never forget the fun, the camaraderie and the memories from New York. It was just like, Mayo took New York over. And it was amazing to people stopping and saying, God, what's your football team? And it was phenomenal. And it was just great to see so many people that, it's once every 5 years, and old men going over on their own for their 70th birthday, and being part of a group, being part of a family. It was brilliant. Yeah, the football was secondary, but the experience of walking around Central Park or down in Times Square, and every single where you went, we actually went to. We decided we'd go off the beaten track just to get away from the Mayo-ness, and no, not a chance, not a chance. First diner we went into, Mayo jerseys. The Mayo jerseys kind of stunk after 5 days. You could nearly smell them come around the block. Like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you go, geez, by Sunday, still had the Mayo jerseys on them.
Were you one of the Mayo people singing the green and red of Mayo in Times Square?
You know what? I was there, yeah. My singing voice isn't great, but it was just, someone put it out, I think it was John Madden, just said, look, at Times Square, 6 o'clock, and it was... Because our hotel was kind of 4 blocks away. I said there was about 350 Mayo people staying in the hotel, and everyone just congregated on Times Square, and it was, look at the fun, and look at, we'll all talk about the championship in the road and who's going to win it, but the fun that was had for them 5 days, that's as good as you get. They're memories that'll last for another 5 years, and everyone is planning London in 2 years, and then 3 years afterwards. So our lives are set out, win, lose or draw. Yeah,
it's great. It's a great kind of perk of being in the Connacht Championship.
Yeah.
Brian and Ciaran, you met in New York.
Yeah, we met back in 2012. I've gone over every summer since, and I've seen this full spectrum. We were Junior B that year, Junior A, Intermediate, and we were Senior last year and lucky to win the Senior Championship. But I can definitely see the draw it is on younger people in Ireland. The chance to play in the States for the summer, it's something that a lot of people want to experience, and to come back with great positive news about it. So it's a great place to go. And myself and Ciaran, he was playing with Leitrim back in the day in 2012, and it's a great place to meet people from other counties as well, and players. There was Brendan Donaghy and Jamie Clark with you as well, and just to get to know lads off the pitch as well, which is very good.
You were saying that you were responsible for giving Jamie the New York bug, Ciaran.
Yeah, look, I suppose the opportunity there is for us. We've heard so much about other players going out and getting great experience out there, and in 2012, I remember us getting beat by Roscommon in the first round of the qualifiers, and the Knives were out in Armagh for us, and
out of town.
And the opportunity there is, and myself and Brandy and Jamie went, and it's something that when we still meet up, we talk about. Met great people over in New York, and you still keep in contact with them to this day. And I suppose half you sort of regrets maybe inviting Jamie on that trip, because he's probably spent the next part of his his career, a couple of years of his career over there. But look, we had great memories from it, and I suppose probably the one best piece of advice Jamie gave us at that time was we were flying out in the flight, and he goes to me and Brandy, I don't know about you, he says, but I'm not going to spend my time sitting in Irish bars. So Jamie took us to the middle of Manhattan every night, and so it was a great experience for us.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I guess that's part of it, isn't it? That you leave to almost avoid the criticism that inevitably comes with an early championship exit.
Yeah, look, I suppose it's nothing that, you know, I would never have dreamt of doing, you know, when I was in the Armagh environment, like, you know, because my sole goal at that time was to win Ulsters and win All-Irelands, you know, and the opportunity arose when that door was took from you by Roscommon in the first round of the qualifiers, and, you know, it's something that I don't regret and something that I really enjoyed, and I think that it freshened me up for the latter years of my football career. My last, that was 2012, and then I finished up in 2017, so it freshened me up for my next 3 or 4 years playing with Armagh. It definitely did.
What about you, Brian, in terms of getting your headspace in a different area than the cauldron that can be a county after a championship exit?
True, and it's a huge card that's dangled in front of you when we were knocked out of the qualifiers, and we were lucky in a position where we never had to make any commitments that went against our county. We were able to totally focus on whether it was Longford or Armagh or whatever county, and then you're able to go over to New York, where it's much trickier now. You see players who are sitting at home or will be sitting in the stands watching Longford play on Sunday, and they're still in the country, but they've decided to play in the States, and they've made it much more difficult for younger people to experience both, and now you have to choose between one and the other, which is probably stifling the amount of people going over. But I can also see it from the other side of the pond too, where there are a lot of Irish American clubs making great strides, and they want their players and their up and coming players to maintain their places on teams throughout the summer, rather than an influx of players coming in and just taking all the spots. Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a kind of a side to both of this, isn't there? You can see the appeal of both. David, you went over for a bit of a summer as well, 99, was it?
Yeah, I don't know who bet us, but like Ciaran says, you get out of Dodge as quick as you can. Yeah. And I went over for 5 days, and I think I stayed for 2.5 weeks. Which kind of got me in a bit of trouble.
You weren't wearing the one Mayo jersey that time, were you?
Yeah, no. It was like, I had to buy some socks and jocks after week 1. But it was just, you know, and that was, you know, that's so many years ago. But I went over then 5 weeks ago, and I met the same people involved in the Mayo GA club then. It was like, I never left, and they're still to the core of the club, whether it's secretary or chairman or treasurer, and it's like, it was nice, yeah, and you know, for me, the opportunity didn't arise that often at all, because for me, thankfully, it always went county. When you got out, your club was priority, but that was back in the day. I'm a lot older than these two men here, but when you could just go over for a weekend, and they'd nearly have spies, whatever team, they'd say, look, Brady's after getting off the plane, or I think it was Ciaran McManus was my counterpart in for the weekend, Ciaran that used to play for Offaly. But yeah, we played a game. It was in Rocklands. I think it was on the Friday night. But the Samazel started, and I knew well there'd be a lot of boys coming to get a slice of me. So I'd say it was an all-in brawl. But I down in the hunkers, and I commando crawled out, and I said, look, I'm not getting enough for this. But it was yeah, the game was abandoned actually, as it turned out. So,
really? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, one guy got.
So what were the two counties involved?
I think it was Offaly we were playing.
Right.
The GA club over there, and then with the Mayo GA club. So like, I think whoever goes over originally starts off. You know, I know you played for Leitrim, but they have roots within from your home county. But yeah, it was definitely. It was not for the faint-hearted, but yeah, and I think then we had to be told what pub to go to afterwards. Because I think it was Clark's. They call it on Woodlawn. Yeah. That's an Offaly pub. Don't go in there tonight. There'll be more trouble. So yeah, it was like a guided safety tour. But it was yeah, and it was. I actually went over. And there was guys from Castlebar there, and one of the guys I was playing with actually was the only guy I've ever got. I got sent off a couple of weeks previous. We had an altercation, but you go to yourself, you know what, we're playing on the same team then, and all is good in the world.
All's good, yeah.
We're going to talk about this year's championship. That's the kind of purpose of this panel, and it's very easy for us to get sucked into tier championships or into the negative side of things that might come out of this weekend. But I want to kind of start with the positives, because there has been a lot of positives that we've seen in football championship so far. There's only been one game where we haven't seen a goal, for example. There's been very exciting football played in Ulster, in particular in the game in Breffni Park last week, and between Armagh and Down as well last week. And Ciaran, you may as well start with your own boys, Armagh. Like, are they indicative of perhaps some glimmer of hope that we're seeing around the country at the moment, that teams are being a bit more ambitious in how they're playing? I know McGeeney's been working on this for a few years.
Yeah, look, I suppose the Armagh Down game last week, from a neutral point of view, was a great game. I suppose as an Armagh spectator, we were 5 points up with 10 minutes to go. Should have closed the game out. Didn't allow Down back in it, I suppose, and then come the extra time, went 3 points down, and then we regained composure and at half time and extra time and went 4 up, and then conceded another goal. It's the games begin to change again, but I think a lot of it's down to teams are getting more comfortable playing against blanket defences. They're using the ball better. The game is still tactical, but it's just, I think it's the players on the pitch are managing them situations better, and they're accustomed to playing against teams that with men behind the ball and playing it better now. This past, I suppose whenever Donegal took it in Jim McGuinness's stint, teams were panicking. They were kicking the ball down the throat of sweepers. They were running into contact, getting overturned by 3 or 4 players. And you can see teams now starting to use the width of the pitch, starting to use depth on the pitch, trying to make the pitch bigger and trying to create 1v1 situations all over the field. Even when there is 10 men back in them situations, they're just using the ball better, using their head better and penetrating holes when they're there to be open. And I just think it's a lot of it's down to, I think it's good management and good decision making by the players on the pitch.
Yeah, is that a county-wide attitude from Armagh? If we keep it just to your county for the moment, because you're minor manager with Armagh at the moment, is there kind of a brand that you want to get across on the pitch across all grades?
Look, football is different. It's you can play 3 different styles in one game. And it's coaching your players to adapt to them. I suppose the under-17s, it's over them this year, and the 3 things I asked them for was to be coachable to the modern game. A lot of them boys would be star players in their club teams and on their 16 level, might get the ball on the 21-yard line, sold it to the far 21-yard line and stick it in the roof of the net. But them opportunities aren't going to arise whenever you're playing against people at the same level if you're at inter-county level. When we're in Ulster, we're going to be playing the likes of Donegal that have really good development squads, the Derrys that have good development squads, and Tyrone, that have systems in place and have had for a number of years. So we were trying. I know my thing was this year with under-17s, we're trying to coach them to play the way the modern games we played at the minute, and that's it's man on man, it's flooding that middle third, making it compact there, and then it's closing up shop at the same time, and that's the style. Each manager has to try and adapt, and I suppose Ciaran McKeever had probably got criticised for that over this past number of years in Armagh. We all know Armagh is a good team, a really good forward line, and if they're given space, they will cause damage. And you look back to the Down game 2 years ago and the Fermanagh match last year. We believed that ourselves in Armagh. We went and we said we're going to get ball early to our forward line, but at the end of the day it didn't serve us any purpose because Down sat back, Fermanagh sat back and just cut out all them we think passes that we were looking for, that direct ball that we were looking for, and got in behind us and hit us on the counter-attack and beat us on both occasions. And I think Armagh learned a lot from the previous 2 years, and you'd seen a lot of people were raising their eyebrows at Ciaran's selection of a starting 15 last weekend for the Down match, but I'm good friends with Ciaran still from the playing days and from the management, and he realised that he can't play all them boys at one time now, because it didn't serve purpose this past 2 years and it won't serve purpose again, so he's picking a team now that will stick to what he's looking for, and then when the game comes open out in the last 20-25 minutes, that's when he can wheel on the likes of Soupy Campbell and boys like that there, that it's open and then boys can kick scores from 30-40 yards.
The pressure was on him last weekend after not having won an Ulster Championship game whatsoever in his tenure as well. And again, the knives would have been out if Down did creep over the line.
Look, you could feel the pressure within Armagh last week leading into the game. The pressure was there. At the end of normal time, the knives were out.
Yeah.
At half time, at extra time, the knives are out. And you could see it on the pitch. The boys, they stuck to what they were told to do. And they come up trumps. And the big plus of that was having Andrew Murnan for the last 10 minutes of extra time, and that got Armagh across the line. But I think the players would have felt, without saying it, would have felt the pressure leading into that down game, because there was so much hype and so much talk in the media. As much as the players, you try to stay away from that, it still seeps in, you know. But I just believe with Armagh getting across the line on Sunday past there, that we'll start to see the fruits of this Armagh team in the coming weeks in the coming championship.
Yeah, you mentioned kind of the new brand of football there, which, if you take it on the back of the market leaders here, which is Dublin, it is based on a risk-averse style of play. But at the same time, there are sprinklings of directness that we've seen in 2019 so far. And I think we all thought that was because of the new offensive mark that they introduced in the league. But Brian, we've also seen it a couple of times in the championship so far. There's been some big scores that have come from direct play. I do wonder if the risk-averse nature might actually start to fade out itself in the next couple of years.
You'd hope not. Like, you'd be looking at Laois and Westmeath this weekend, and like I don't see those being defensive at all. They're going to go for, like, you have Donny Kingston on the edge of the square, and they're going to be and try and be as direct as possible. The same at Kildare. They'll be looking at maybe Longford maybe slightly lacking in height, and bomb balls in on top of them as well. So I think it is gone much more offensive, and like, ironically enough, when I was looking at the Armagh down game, like, Armagh's strength in the forward line at this stage, and the fact that they went 5 up and then the nerves came back, and then they went 4 up and maybe the nerves came in as well, that they weren't getting over the line. So yeah, I think it has gone from the Jim McGuinness style back to the more traditional style. And look, at the ideal template is the Dublin template, but not all teams are able to do that. And you will see teams, for example, Carlow this weekend, where they're just going to try and frustrate for as long as possible, and then maybe hit on the counter and take their chances from there. It
is interesting though, when you look at the Dublin team and their effective forwards at this point, it's no longer the Paul Flynn's and Diarmuid Connolly's and the great kick passing geniuses that they've had over the last decade. It is more the Ciaran Kilkenny and Niall Scully ball carriers. Yeah, and like, even my own clubman Paul Mannion, like, my most standout memories of Paul Mannion is tackling back in his own 21 and turning over the Tyrone lads, and then at the same time having the stamina and the engine to get back up the field and kick points at the other end. So it really has developed into the old style of staying inside, winning your ball and kicking it over the bar. That has totally changed now, and they're rotating all the time, and you just need to put your shoulder to the wheel. And you saw with the Tipperary hurlers, the let slip, that their target was 100 tackles per game, and that has to start at number 15 or number 23 when he comes in. And it really, really has stepped up a notch on that front. How have Mayo adapted to this?
I think from a Mayo context, they have gone a lot less defensive. It's the first time I've ever seen for a series, which was the National League, to see Kevin McLaughlin playing as an out-and-out forward. Whereas if we look back 12, 15 months ago, he spent the vast majority of his time in the Mayo half-back line and as a linkman. But I think they're actually, you know, what Mayo are doing is they're gone more man to man. They have confidence in themselves as a defensive unit to say, you know what, yeah, when you have mobility like you have in Matthew Ruan now, who's coming into the panel, and people saying he has done this and he has done that, and he has, but the foundation of all that is from his work rate and his athleticism, getting up and down, whether it's scoring, you know, 2 goals in the National League and getting on the end of a ball, or managing to get back constantly. And again, your midfielders in my day, you could draw a midfielder and what they look like, the height, you know, strength, blah. Now it's athletes. Now it's complete athleticism, and I think that's for me. Mayo have, and will it serve them well going through the championship? They're well experienced to adapt to what they've had previous to a constant sweeper and playing 4-man full forward line and shutting out at the back, if that's the case. But yeah, it's see, at least they have a lot more room. They have a lot more, I think, of a conjoined forward line now. They're playing a lot more with a lot more fluidity, and again, it's serendipity is when you have so many injuries that you have the opportunity to give younger guys. And I think for James Horan coming in, he has given a lot of the younger guys an opportunity, and he has that kind of, you can gamble with that when you're a manager second time round. I don't need to start to get to know the likes of Brian or Ciaran Mckeever, but I need to, you know, they know what I'm like as a manager, so you're going, right, let's focus my efforts on the younger players.
Like, it's a very interesting point, because Enda McGinley kind of touched on that yesterday, saying that the league campaign, you could kind of judge it in 2 ways. You could say it was a brilliant finale for Mayo. How they finished the league was absolutely sensational and cemented their place as the second best team in the country. But you do look at, say, the first time they appeared in Croke Park in the league when they got hockeyed by Dublin, whether or not there are concerns there. And I do wonder if there's a way of spinning that in a positive way and thinking, actually, is that just indicative of how James Horan is obsessed with evolution and how he tried things out that perhaps he knew weren't going to materialise down the line, but he tried them anyway?
I don't think he gambled that much, and like they have got well hockeyed in every National League game they've played Dublin the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It has been an absolute disaster, and I remember that distinct of that Saturday night game, and in every facet of the game they were outplayed. But then you go, you know what? It's within 8 weeks you're in 7 weeks you're in a National League final, and it's that kind of confidence by winning the National League that you can say to yourself, you know what, everything is not rosy, everything is not perfect, and there'll be times tonight at 7 o'clock or 10 past 7 when Roscommon will test them, and again I see a very clustered defensive setup from Roscommon, and that's what you do with Mayo. You know, if you try and go man-to-man with Mayo, bar, you know, the top 2 or 3 teams, if you go man-to-man, you'll get found out. But if you frustrate them, if you get guys back, if you make them shoot under pressure, a lot of lateral passing, you'll go, you know what, you'll feel good when that's happening. And if you can break them down and try and get them on the back foot. But they're adaptable, and the one thing I have to say, and and I've said it constant throughout this league, we have never, rarely, and I can't remember when you would have a discussion about the starting team or who should start. But when you have guys like James Carr, who's coming in, young Ciaran Tracy, you know, these guys have added a massive dimension to the forward line. You have Matthew Ruan now cemented as the next generation, for his generation as a midfielder, and I can't see him stopping that. You have Michael Plunkett starting tonight. You have James McCormick, who started it against New York, didn't do anything wrong. So there's now competition within, and it's coming from the youth.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the adaptability of this Mayo team, and like James Horan, it was kind of brought up in the media this week as well, his time he spent with Joe Schmidt in 2016, I think it was, and his kind of awareness of the importance of looking at other sports and what they can bring to your own coaching. And I wonder if that's something that you can relate to, Ciaran, just kind of in the early throes of your coaching career, the idea that you can pick up so many different things from another sport, and it doesn't necessarily need to be any specific thing, just almost creating the culture or whatever it may have been in the Irish camp.
Yeah, look, you know, I suppose every GA player is keen in sport, you know, and you watch different sports across all codes, soccer, rugby, basketball, whatever it is, you know, and you know, you try to learn and adapt these things from them sports. And you know, I suppose when I got first in the under-17 job in Armagh, you know, the first place I contacted was Ulster Rugby. And I went down and spent 2 full days with the Ulster Academy squad.
Right.
You know, and I was in team meetings, in all their pitch sessions, in their gym sessions, you know, and I just wanted to learn what, you know, how they plan sessions and stuff like that there, and just pick these things from it and try and take it into the Armagh under 17 setup, you know, and out of them 2 days, you know, I've got a great learning curve, you know, for myself, and you know, thankfully I was fit to take that back to the Armagh under 17 setup.
It's interesting that you went into their youth setup in Ulster as opposed to the senior setup. What exactly did you learn about that culture involving young people?
You know, I suppose the big thing, like, you know, is, you know, I'm big in skill development, you know, so the big thing on that front was, from the Ulster Rugby point of view, was, you know, they would go into a series of different games with different conditions in it, you know, and they might play that for a 10-minute block. And the minute that, you know, the whistle went, when 10 minutes was up, the whistle went, and that phase was over. And then you went to a 6-minute block of just skill development. So, you know, you went to the boys that was in the lineouts, they went and did on their lineouts for 6 minutes. The kickers went and did kicking for 6 minutes. You know, so, you know, my idea is, you know, in the Gaelic terms, you feel that, you know, 10 minutes, you play another 2 minutes, you know, and you forget that side of the skill development side of things. You know, and you try to cram so much into one session. So, you know, I try to take that into the under-17s as much as possible, that, you know, we'd play a lot of games with different conditions in it, you know, and then once that phase was over, we went in and we broke down our tackling for our defenders, kickouts for our keepers and our middle eight, and then our finishing up front for our forwards, you know, and just try to keep that cycle going, and, you know, and just trying to, you know, suppose it's with the Ulster Academy, you know, they're going professional, like, so there is a big culture aspect in the side of things there, and, you know, how to carry themselves, how to behave, you know, and just taking wee bits of that there and trying to take that into our setup, and, you know, trying to, if you like to call teach the players the values of what it means to wear an Armagh jersey and how to respect that and how to respect other people within that system.
That's very interesting. It's something I want to come back to. We do have to take a break in just a moment to get to news because given the date it's in it with the elections, you'll stay with us hopefully for another 20 minutes or so because I want to get your take on Dublin, perhaps a bit more on that as well, and also Ciaran Donaghy's championship proposals that he brought up on a shot clock this week. You're listening to David Brady, Brian Kavanagh and Ciaran McKeever on our Saturday panel. We'll take a quick break.
Get up-to-the-minute news updates at newstalk.com and on the Newstalk app.
I'm Brian, or as my agent likes to say at dinner parties.
Brian is the voice of Skoda.
Indeed I am. And as the voice of Skoda, I've seen every Skoda script under the sun. Rarely one this good, though. The Octavia Soleil is the shiny new addition to the Skoda range. It comes with sunset glass, Skoda Connect, LED lights and heated half-leather seats. How's that for dinner party conversation? Brighten every journey with the limited edition Octavia Soleil. Visit skoda.ie.
It's the security of knowing that when I set the alarm, my premises are professionally monitored.
Top security. The sign of security.
Introducing the Bosch cordless vacuum range. Our premium model includes 2 batteries for infinite runtime, delivering intensive no-cord cleaning performance on all floor types. For more information and a full demonstration, call to Power City today.
What makes your beach holiday Travel Republic perfect? A gentle stroll along a golden sandy beach.
And skies made from fluffy pink candy floss.
Find your perfect beach holiday. From the Algarve to Florida, Lanzarote to Dubai, with prices to suit every budget. Reserve your place in the sun from just €1. Book now at travelrepublic.ie. Terms apply. See site for details.
Mattresses-delivered.ie. Nationwide delivery within 48 hours for free. That's mattresses-delivered.ie. Lowest prices guaranteed. Don't forget the hyphen. T's and C's apply.
Hang out somewhere new with Emirates special return fares from Dublin. Experience the sights of Dubai from €479. Make magical moments in Hong Kong from €519. Or enjoy the breathtaking beauty of Sydney from €999. Book by the 28th of May 2019. Limited availability, terms, conditions and fare exclusions apply. Visit emirates.com/IE. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
Hi, Jennifer here from Two's Company, Ireland's leading dating agency. Are you fed up wasting time online, searching through countless profiles? Try a more personal and professional approach. Two's Company guarantee introductions to people who really want a relationship, people with a very high level of compatibility. So sit back and let us do the searching for you. See twoscompany.ie today. And remember, you're in good company with Two's Company.
Life feels better when you know your loved ones are being looked after. Well, now you can protect your family's future for just €10.10 per month with Leia Life Insurance. Simply answer a few short questions. There's no medical required. And unlike any other insurer, you're covered by Leia Life instantly, which means your family will get a lump sum payment should you pass away. Join us online and you'll get a 10% discount and a further 10% if you're already a Leia Healthcare member. Visit leialife.ie or call us now on 1890 907 100.
Insurance provided by iptiQ Life SA. Leia Healthcare Limited, trading as Leia Life and Leia Healthcare, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Speaker, why do worms have legs? Why are oranges orange? How much does a helicopter cost? Can I play outside?
Remember when your kids spoke to you, not the internet? Well, with Vodafone Gigabit Smart Wi-Fi, you can turn off the Wi-Fi for specific devices, like your home assistant.
Mom, can Tom come to play? Mom, I got a pencil stuck.
If you really want to, that is. Vodafone Gigabit Broadband Superfast Fibre direct to the home. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Ready?
Subject to availability in selected areas. T's and C's apply. See Vodafone.ie.
Hey Skoda, find me the nearest vegan restaurant.
You will arrive at your destination, Cut the Cheese Cafe, in 71 kilometres.
Oh, you love this place, Bernadette. It's the best vegan cheese toastie in Ireland.
Right.
Worth the drive. They bake the bread from scratch. It's amazing what they can do with cauliflower these days.
The Skoda Kodiaq with Skoda Connect, making it easy to find the next place to try. Skoda, made for a new Ireland.
Discover the Bosch laundry range at Power City. Achieve perfect washing results thanks to the Bosch Intelligent Dosing System IDOS. Now with a free 5-year warranty. For more information, go to powercity.ie or call in store today.
Enjoy a taste of Italy this week at your local Super Value. Stock up on all your Italian favorites like Super Value penne, fusilli or spaghetti pasta 1 kilo, 94 cent each. Super Value pasta sauces selected range, 79 cent each. And Super Value garlic toasties, only €1. Go Italian this week at your local Super Value.
Across Ireland on 106 to 108 FM and at newstalk.com. This is News Talk.
It's 2 o'clock good afternoon. I'm Andrea Gilligan. Political parties are assessing the damage of the green wave of support shown in the local and European elections. The Green Party is the big winner, both in the European and local elections. Our political correspondent Sean Defoe has the details.
It looks like the Greens could take a seat in all 3 European constituencies, a surge in their vote being called the Green Wave. Deputy Party leader Catherine Martin says it's a good day.
More importantly, I think we're reaching beyond Dublin as well, and that's really important for us as a party, to reach beyond Dublin. We are not Dublin-centric, and this is the election that will prove that.
Other parties are still trying to assess where their vote's been eaten by the Greens. Labour TD Jan O'Sullivan acknowledging it's affecting them.
In both European and local, we've been very much, I suppose, swept by the green wave. I think a lot of the people who would normally vote for us have voted green this time.
The green wave has been damaging in Dublin for Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, but less so nationally. Despite facing his own party problems, particularly in Midlands North West, Fianna Fáil leader Micheál Martin going on the offensive today.
I mean, who would have thought that, Lear Varadkar would preside over a worse local election result than Enda Kenny? And that is very much possible.
We're still likely some hours away from official first counts and the final results.
The divorce referendum is expected to ease into a yes vote, with the exit poll showing support of 87%. The Culture Minister and Fine Gael's Divorce Campaign Director of Elections, Josepha Madigan, says it shows the kindness and compassion of the people of Ireland.
I'm pleased about the deep swell of kindness and compassion that the Irish people have had for people going through marital breakdown, and that they recognise that. And they've demonstrated this over the last number of years. It's not about, it wasn't about rocking the system. It was about, showing kindness to people, really.
And in other news today, hundreds of people have set off from Belfast on a 3-day peace walk in memory of Ciaran McKeever. The 29-year-old journalist was shot dead during rioting in the Cregan area of Derry last month. The Ciaran walk will finish in the Guildhall Square in the city on Monday. That's it for now. We'll have more again at 3.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to Des Kelly Interiors. For the latest trends in carpets, vinyls and wood flooring, Des Kelly Interiors, where quality flooring costs less.
Generally dry and cloudy this afternoon and evening. There will be some sunny breaks developing. Highest temperatures today 15 to 20 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
You're very welcome back to our Saturday panel with David Brady, Brian Kavanagh and Ciaran McKeever. If you want to get in touch with us this afternoon, you can text us using the number 53106. It'll cost you 30 cents per message. You can tweet us as well at Off The Ball or comment on the stream if you happen to be watching on YouTube or on Facebook. We just wanted to finish up in terms of the preview and in terms of the general themes around this weekend with Dublin. Brian, I want to get your take on them. There's a couple of interesting elements around Dublin. We won't know in terms of the team news until probably around 5 to 7. So I'll put this to you. Eamon Fitzmaurice, the Irish Examiner this morning, said that the ruthless consistency of performance was missing during the league. There was a clear malaise there. Now, I know a lot of people have written off the league as a pointless indicator of Dublin, but is there something in what Fitzmaurice is saying?
I would go along with the lines against Eamon, whereas Jim Gavin's probably thinking of the bigger picture here. Who's going to remember a league if they achieved the 5 in a row? He probably, they lost their few games early on in the league, but he knew they were going back to their clubs for the month of April, and he's very good and he honours that month very well. But just talking to a few of the lads, it's been hammer and tongs and really has upped the notch since they went back in early May. And I think that he just didn't really prioritise the league. I know him, and I read the article, he was saying that Jim Gavin doesn't work like that, but I think he mightn't have. There's age and legs there. There's lads who have been on the road a long time, and maybe you don't ask them the same questions in February 2019 as he would have asked in February 2014.
When you're talking to the lads and they say they're going hammer and tongs, what exactly does that mean?
What lads are you talking to?
Yeah.
You have the floor now.
Yeah. But
playing with Ken McCullough Crokes gives you an insight.
I suppose against Louth, it's an indication of where they're at in the internal games with the starting 15. But I doubt that Rory O'Carroll would see much action this weekend. But I know that there's much more emphasis nearly on how players are going during those A versus B games rather than a 14-point win in the Leinster Championship. So yeah, they have been up to intensity, and it is picked on form, and I think they're going to begin to hum nicely now for the championship.
Is your sense that Rory O'Carroll is going to become a stalwart of the team as the summer goes on?
I would say he'll make his mark come Super 8s.
Right.
Rory is an amazing character. He's very much his own man. He came back in brilliant shape, and his first training back with Crokes, he was bringing lads into a huddle like he's a real leader on and off the field. And yeah, he'll bide his time. He won't throw the toys out of the pram if he's not brought back in the Leinster Championship, but I expect to see him there come the business end of the season.
So like the question has been asked, like, if it's possible to come back after that much of a stay away and actually make it, because I think timing that hiatus is a good thing. Like, we see what Shane O'Donnell, his first performance in the Munster Hurling Championship this year was sensational, and it was like everybody should be doing this. But is Rory O'Carroll's exile too long almost?
Well, I suppose it's how you look after yourself when you're away as well, and he came back, and I suppose his first touch might have been rusty, but he was still in very good shape. And if you look at Jack McCaffrey, went off to Africa and then won 2 All-Stars in the subsequent seasons after that. So it's all about the discipline that you have, looking after your own body when you are away, and just getting up to speed of things then and putting in the extra yards to try and make up the time that you've lost.
I spent a year and a half back in 2003 travelling, and I came back then in April 2004, and from then, and within 4 months you're in an Ireland final.
Prolonged the career as well.
Yeah, the sense of freshness it gives you, and you're kind of re-energised, and you know what, your mind is a lot clearer. So it's you're kind of going, this is me back, and yeah, have to prove yourself. And as Brian says, Rory will do that in some way, shape, or form over the next few months, or weeks. But yeah, it does give you a sense of freshness. Did he say how Dermot was going in training?
He said he was flying it.
Well, that's all we need to know.
That's it. Headline there: Dermot Connolly flying in training.
Flying it. Fair to you for telling the truth anyway.
It's an interesting one though in terms of like that breakaway, because I guess if you look at the kind of levels of attrition that you have in different sports, like rugby and the players who've been at the very top of the game, you look at Richie McCaw, he's taken a step away from the game, came back and it prolonged his career. Same with Dan Carter, same with the likes of someone like Ian Asewa. Probably don't need it in something like soccer where you have a proper off-season, but in GAA there is no off-season. I mean, the attrition rate is right up there.
Yeah, and I did it myself. I went away when I was 26 to the States for a year, and as David said, it's more about your mental freshness when you come back.
Yeah.
Right. You're re-energised, and you want to prove to yourself that I can get back to where I was before I left, and you have that motivation. It's very easy to motivate yourself when you do come back. And yeah, like before I went, the club seasons were between Leinster Club Championships and inter-county leagues. It was all one big season there for about 3 years, and just to take a step away and come back, you do have renewed vigour.
And sometimes injuries give you that unfortunate sense of a break. Did you ever have that where from serious injury that you'd say, you know what, it's nice to come back here now and prove myself, or they're all questioning you? Saying, how is Kavanagh going now? I don't know, will he be the same player coming back from it? You know, it might be a series, but you might have missed 2 or 3 months. But it gives you that sense of, right, I need to start.
It's right again.
Yeah, it's important. It's hard to kind of put your finger on how you actually get that drive, but that's clearly one of the ways you can do it. The one thing we wanted to finish up on is championship structures, and I know it can be kind of a term bandied about there quite often, but this week on a shot clock slot, Ciaran Donaghy came up with his ideal championship proposal, and if anybody missed it, his basic idea is that he wants to keep the provincial championships, but he wants to move them forward to February and March, and each province has their own round-robin tournament, and there will be a provincial winner crowned in each of the provinces. Then the summer comes along, and in around mid to late May you'll have the start of a round-robin situation as well, where you'll have a Tier 1 championship and a Tier 2 championship, 2 groups of 8 in each. Everybody will play one another in their own group, and then the top 2 in each group will go to the semi-finals in both Tier 1 and in Tier 2. Now the bottom of each group in Tier 1 will get relegated to Tier 2, and the finalists in Tier 2 will get promoted to Tier 1. That is as basically as I can sum it up in about 30 seconds there. Brian, we might start with you. Like, if you were to be a footballer playing in the second tier of that, would it kind of decimate your hope, or would it be like this is actually a carrot for promotion?
Yeah, it would decimate my hope, and I suppose as a former Longford player I'd be looking at it through rose-tinted glasses as regards the qualifiers, whereas we would have beaten Derry 3 times, Down, Monaghan, Mayo over the years, who are all Division 1, Division 2 teams. And our supporters and our best days out were in the qualifiers, where we had a really positive attitude towards it. And I would be a massive fan of it for what it has done for players in our county. Like, for example, the year we beat Mayo, we lost to Down in the following round by a couple of points. They went to the All-Ireland final. And we brought that hope into the following season, and we got promoted in the league. So I think there is a lot to be said, if you approach the qualifiers right, to keep them as they are. Now, I know there's a strong argument about the 2-tier. Like, I myself played in the Tommy Murphy Cup for 2 years, and it just never took off. Not only did it take off with the players, I remember playing games, we weren't even allowed to use Pearse Park because it was kept for club games, so we were playing in secondary grounds, maybe 50, 60 people at it. It just never took off. So I would be sceptical of how well it would be introduced.
If you managed to change all that and there was, a compelling reason to put these games on television, because you might have more cause, you might have better facilities, for example, getting your own county ground. If that was all kind of in rules by the GEA from Croke Park to actually change that so that you actually had proper promotion of Tier 2, would that change your mind in it, or is the actual structure itself something you have an issue with?
I think promotion of the Tier 2 system, Tier 1, Tier 2, is critical, and you need players to buy into it 100%. And instead of thinking, look, we're out of the provincial now, and this thing is a bit of a joke, and teams going in half-hearted into it. You need everyone to buy in, and you need supporters to buy into it, and you need everybody to be really well informed on how it's going to run, the importance of it, and then teams to focus on getting out of that Tier 2 system and moving up to Tier 1. It's worth a shot again. Just because the Tommy Murphy Cup didn't work doesn't mean that you can't revisit that area, but they have to learn from the mistakes from previous and realign certain elements of it.
Mm-hmm. How did it make you feel playing the Tommy Murphy Cup?
It was if you ranked it like you have your provincial and then your qualifiers, it was way below that. It was just, people had just dropped all interest in the games. There was no atmosphere at it. Players, were they really trying? And then sometimes managers might use it as giving squad players a run that didn't get a run in the provincial and the qualifiers as well. And maybe it took a small bit off the gloss of playing for your county when you're finishing your season, playing in front of 50 or 60 people in a club ground somewhere in the county.
And that's a very important voice to listen to, because we go from our side, like Brian would have made any county team in the country if he was playing with them. But then you're going, it seems and it sounds so disheartening to say, to give someone not an opportunity. Like, I'll never forget 2010 when Longford bet us. It was like, but for our decimation was there.
That's actually
it was like the elation was unbelievable, and it was probably one of your memorable days as a footballer.
Yeah, and it was a carnival atmosphere in the town for days afterwards, and it gave the whole county a lift. And it was huge, because Mayo, like one of the teams that we aspired to emulate, and you admire their players. I loved Ciaran McDonald when I was growing up, and James Horan and James Nallen and these guys, and then to be able to say that you were on a team that beat Mayo, that's huge. And as Longford players, it spurred us on, if we didn't progress in the provincial, that we had a shot at one of the big guns. And as the years went by, our support for the qualifiers probably matched the support for the provincials. We went up to Clonus 2 years ago and beat the Ulster champions, Monaghan, and we had a couple of thousand Longford supporters up there, because they travelled with belief. We'd beaten Down the previous week in Newry. So that's why I would be sceptical of changing it unless it was really, really solid structure in place, because at the moment the qualifiers for a lot of teams is a good place to be.
That's very interesting. So almost that moment of taking a scalp is more important than the potential of winning silverware and promotion from a Tier 2 competition.
Well, you just get huge momentum from it and huge belief. And when you go back training, if you've taken a few big teams out the previous summer, that'll get you through the January and February and the hard yards, and you're thinking, on our day, we're not far off it. Maybe we need to get our act together more in the Leinster Championship earlier on in the year rather than waiting for the qualifiers. And that's what I know myself and the players in our squad used to take from that. And we'd be saying, look at lads, we went up to Derry last July, up to Celtic Park, we beat them, let's get out of this league in Division 3 or whatever we'd been in, and then drive it on from there.
Well, Ireland final day, as you said, if you're looking at a Down team that you played 7-8 weeks previous, and they're on the biggest stage of all, and you're going, I'm not actually, it gives a great sense of hope for yourself, but you have to, for whatever championship structure there ever is, every single team, every county has to have a chance.
So you think everybody needs to be in the pot for Sam Maguire at the start of the year, regardless of the structure?
Do you base it? Yes, without a doubt. We can never exclude anyone. It's like saying, you know what, the guy in the corner, and he's the last pick in your school backyard game. You're going, you're forgotten about. Do you base it on? And I think it needs to be, someone needs to come to the table and say, do you base it on a league, on your league standings? So if you win your league, whether it's Division 4, Division 1, that you're going to be in the Super 8s. That's like the league structure that we have. This year you're going, you go, they won last week, they lost again this week. You're going, well, the competition and the competitiveness in the league can be replicated in the championship.
But I think that's kind of his point, is that the league is based on a meritocracy. It is a division-based thing. And you've got promotion, you've got relegation. If you're good enough to get promoted, you play in the top tier, and ultimately you have teams playing of a similar level. It's almost like moving the league, the format, the idea of putting teams of a similar level, but in the time of the year when football can be played at its best. I don't know what you think about this, Ciaran.
Look, I'm with David there, and that everybody should be included in the pot for the Sam Maguire. And we talk about these top teams, and I feel we panic a wee bit in the GA. There's mismatches in all sports across the world. And we talk about the top teams. The reality is there's 6 top teams, 6, 8, and then the rest after that, are as good as on a level playing field. And out of that pot, from 6 to 12. On any given day, that 6 to 12 could beat the top 6, and vice versa from 12 on down. As we've included there, that if teams come with the wrong attitude and the other teams come with the right appetite and the right attitude and the right intent, anybody's fit to be beat.
And it's any given day. Everyone should be given a day. So everyone should be given a chance. Or an opportunity. I don't think people or teams or an inter-county should be given the dream of playing in the championship, or the possibility. They should be given one chance. If it's just one, well then so be it, but they have to be included.
So you've got 3 dissenting voices to Ciaran Donaghy's.
I'm surprised he just didn't put Kerry into the All-Ireland final straight away. Give them a bye. But yeah, it's
as a Mayo footballer, being completely selfish just for a moment, how would it feel to be in a pot there with 7 other teams of, say, playing the National League in summertime?
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. But I'm going back, Francis. I was a Mayo young fella in 1983 or 82. When we were outcasts. We had
Division 3.
Well, man says back when I was young fella, 10, what did I have to aspire to? What did I want to grow up to be? And, it wasn't that Mayo were winning Connacht titles. They weren't. You could say, back, if we're having this conversation back then, Mayo would be in the bottom half. They wouldn't be even in the championship, to a degree. So you're going, and I think it's the development of counties. And we had the conversation there earlier. You're going, I kind of said to myself, and I don't follow her, I'm going, Carlow playing Kilkenny, where did that come out of? But you're going, have Carlow as a county, football and hurling, got their structures right? Have they got their academy, have they got their future plan right? For me, you know what, from the looks of it, in the last few years with Turlock O'Brien as well in the football, it seems to be, because they were unhurt,
Just to be a devil's advocate there for a moment, David, Carlow won the Joe McDonagh Cup last year. They got their house in order. They won their Division 2, their Tier 2 competition, so to speak. They've got up and now they've got the opportunity to play Kilkenny. That great moment is still there for those players because they managed to break that ceiling, which was Tier 2.
So if they go down again now, they have to come up through the Joe McDonagh.
Well, that's the way the structure is. It's ultimately there will be somebody else from the Joe McDonagh who comes back up. And granted, hurling is different. It's far more black and white than football is.
Yeah, we're I don't know what kind of colour football is because it's so it is such. Every county wants hurling is so kind of there is a certain amount of teams and only can compete against each other. But football is I think football is in a very healthy place. I love the fact that the Cavan winning last weekend wasn't a fluke. It was down to, and we mentioned it outside, their under 21 success a few years ago. Now them guys are 26, 27. Again, the underage success and underage structures, and as Ciaran has mentioned, has been part of the Armagh minor team. If you can, he didn't go out to win trophies. He'd go out to instill a certain belief and a certain level of kind of, this is the way you act as a young guy. I'm not teaching you how to pick up the ball a lot of the times. I'm telling you how to act, how to represent, and how to be proud for your county. And that's, you know what, we're all born in 1 year. And it doesn't define us whether we can be a good footballer, bad footballer, or what county you come from.
And just because you're born in Kerry and the likes of Dublin doesn't give you a goddamn right to win All Ireland's, but it's what they do, it's the resources, the structures that they have in place that provide them with an opportunity year in, year out to do that. And I think it's important that, in any county there's 30, 40, 50 good players. And it's getting the right structures and the resources in place. And as David said, Carlow have got that in place over this past number of years, and they've seen the fruits of it. And you'll see there's other counties starting to get that in place as well now. And I think that's why the leagues became so competitive, and our championships to date have been competitive, bar 1 or 2 matches. And I think that will continue to grow throughout the summer, and we just can't get bogged down in 1 or 2 matches. There's plenty of matches to be played throughout the summer, and we just can't get bogged down in one game, And
there'll be a few mismatches, and that's
life.
But man says, unfortunately, it takes too much of the headline. You're always going to have mismatches, but you go to yourself. That's the level you have to aspire to if you're at the end of a drubbing and saying, you know what, it's there's a big day for everyone. There is, and it's good to see. It's great with the loud players. Would the loud players be saying to themselves, are we better off now in the secondary championship? Right now. What is it, 2 or 3 hours before playing the All-Ireland champions, going for 5 in a row?
That's where you want to be.
That's the kind of the mindset you want to be as a player.
Yeah. I think we're going to have to leave it there. It's a conversation I'm sure that's going to rage on as the summer progresses. It was great to get your thoughts this afternoon, lads. You've been listening to David Brady, Brian Kavanagh and Ciaran McKeever on our Saturday panel. We're going to take a quick break and we're back with football.
Off the ball on News Talk. Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Coming up this week, I head to Bloom in the Park to get a first look at the techie-themed gardens on offer this year. We'll put 4 wrist wearables through their paces and learn about education platform iSchool.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Download the podcast now or tune in Sunday at 6.
On News Talk.
Have a great afternoon with Harvey Norman, the #1 in Ireland for sofas, dining sets, home accessories and more.